Hey everybody, welcome back to the Strategy Game Podcast. I'm your host, Lauren Shippey, and today we're talking about a really important tool that you can use to get better at productivity in your life. You know those things you always want to do but never seem to get time to do? Well, we're going to tackle them today. Okay, so in this episode, we are talking about the power of routines. Now, you might be thinking, oh, okay, I thought it was some fancy tool, or I thought there was like a specific strategy or framework or tactic, but the routines is the framework. It is the strategy and it is the tactic. And that's what we're going to talk about today. So don't tune me out just because you think you might have the routines down, because what we're going to do here is talk about what routines mean, looking at all the key routines and systems in your life and how that leads and directly impacts your growth as a business, movement, or nonprofit. So let's start with what a routine really means. So your routines and schedule are the systems in your life, if you can think about it that way. And evaluating them and becoming intentional about time fuels growth. So routines are about the systems that you have for the things in your life, and these systems will be the backbone of upholding habits to accomplish your goal. Establishing your baseline routines is critical. And when we use a growth mindset rather than a fixed mindset, it's really, really important when we look at our routines. So we've been through this. I think we talked about this in a previous episode, but when you're zooming in to do this work, using that growth mindset where you're thinking about, how could I do this differently? Or is there another way? Or opening up the box, right? And discarding rigidity when you're thinking about routines is actually very valuable. When we think about routines, we think about, oh, it's so mundane. I don't want to do it. It's the same thing every day. It becomes monotonous, but that's not necessarily true. So I would encourage you to dig a little bit deeper and take a look a little bit further into what routines actually mean, because we know that structure can actually create space. So for me personally, I was, pretty strict about a baseline routine for a while. And when my kids were very, very young, it was the only method of survival for me. It was the only way that I could make time to do some of this work that I really enjoy and that fuels me so that I could be a better mom. So for me, it was all connected. And for you, it might be that way in other areas of your life, whether it's working out or whether it's having quiet time or having time to write or produce or whatever you do, create, right? The stuff that fuels you, when you make enough time for that, and that often takes some routine, right? That's kind of a baseline. Then you get freedom on the other side, because then you're refueled and you're ready to create and you have energy for the people and the things in your life. So it's all about this balance. And so while structure creates space, we also don't want to be too rigid with our routines to the point where we feel trapped or like it's stifling us. So the trick is to start with a baseline routine, commit to at least a few days a week, whatever you think you can tolerate, and then let yourself just have time to be free. So there's such a balance here that's very important. So we need to think about, when we're looking at all of our routines, could someone help me in certain areas? Could this process be automated? Is there a service that already does this? What could I potentially delegate? What are the things that fill me up that I need to do more of and make time for? And when am I going to do that and how? And even if it's only 5 minutes, a few times a week, I promise you it will make a difference. So these seemingly small decisions prove to become game changers when it comes to time. So in this episode, I'm going to share my top 5 personal things for helping me accomplish routines, because over the years, I have made things happen by doing these things. So the first one is don't sit down. If you sit down, you're done. Can you guys think of a time? Usually for me, it's at night, right? So it's after my kids are in bed. I can't let myself sit down if I have something that I know that I need to do or get done, or that I know is important. Because if I do, I will not get anything else done from that point forward. So I have to remind myself to keep pushing through and finish up that one last thing I want to accomplish, and then sit down and relax. It sounds so simple and basic, but it's really true. And sometimes I'll just put in my AirPods and I'll put on some music, or I'll put on a podcast to shift my mind off of the thing that I maybe don't want to do. Maybe it's, I don't know, something in the kitchen, or it's cleaning, or it's some work, or whatever the thing is, planning for the next day. When I pop those headphones in for just even 15, 20 minutes and knock it out, it really helps so much. And it shifts your mindset off of the thing that you don't want to do, and really opens up your mind to that flexibility mindset. Number 2, change your environment. So switching up your daily routine by changing your environment is a great way to bring fresh inspiration and motivation to your work, your workouts, or family life, any of it and all of it. When you change your environment, you just do things differently. You think differently. I was just doing this the other day with my kids. We were doing some school, and I said, you know what, let's go outside and we'll jump in the pool, and I will shoot math problems at you. And every time you get it right, you do a cannonball, whatever. Right. So that totally, it didn't feel like math. Right. So where are you that it doesn't feel like work? Sometimes when it's nicer out and it's not so hot here, I'll go outside and I'll work on the side patio. I'll work in the backyard. I'll go write in the hammock. I'll take a walk and things will come to me and I'll write them on the walk. Like, it doesn't have to look like this rigid thing where you're sitting at your desk and you're doing this. Like, there's so much freedom in it. And I think when we start to realize that there's freedom there, then we can design our days like that. Like, there's even people I know that have like meetings, but they walk, like walking meetings. Like, you don't have to sit in an office, in a conference room, with people and just sit there. Like, you can go do things. So think about what it is for you that you could do that with the people in your life, you know? So sit at the table. Maybe it means like with your husband or wife, like sitting at the table at night over a glass of wine instead of the couch, right? Because you might just fall asleep. Or a new coffee shop to work, or go on a walk or run on the beach a day instead of going to the gym. Like, what basic little routines can you do things slightly differently once in a while that can prove to just open up new pathways in your brain? It literally creates new pathways in your brain and leads to more creativity, which is what we need, because we need to be refreshed. We crave adventure, right? And so those little things can create enough adventure to where we can draw inspiration and refuel ourselves for the people in our lives, whether that's your business, your movement, or your family. Number 3, do it first. If you're backed up with your work, reading, or workouts, and I have done this so much, try this. Make it the first thing you do after brushing your teeth. Do nothing else. Immediately start your day with your first priority. So I literally will get up, brush my teeth, sit down at my desk. And I know that I'm sitting there for 15 minutes and I'm writing whatever comes out when I'm in those seasons of writing and creating something new. So doing it first really, really helps. If there's that thing that you never get to, that's always on the end of your list and it's kind of an optional one, I struggle with this, but you're not getting to it, put it first in your day and say, I'm going to take 10 or 15 minutes. That's it. And set a timer. Literally set a timer. And I'm telling you, for 10 or 15 minutes, even if it's 2 to 3 days a week, you will start to make progress on it. And it will feel so good, because when you know that you're making space for the things that you really want to get to, but don't, and that actually fill you up, because a lot of times we choose to do the mundane routine things that are easier. They drain us, right? So you can see how that will balance out your energy. Number 4, make space for quiet. So first thing in the morning or midday, or if you're more of a night owl and you like to do it after everybody's asleep, they're the easiest times to accomplish this. So when we make space for quiet and capturing our thoughts that come at some point during the day, we will get used to writing them down and then seeing how they transform into initiatives that we can put into action over time. And I'm not just speaking to people in the business world. I'm speaking to any human. You have things inside of you that need to come out. There's only one you, there's only one voice, there's only somebody would do things the way that you do them, even if it's in your parenting, speaking over your family, or speaking into somebody's life as a friend. When you make space for this quiet, for this reflection time, and you start to capture your thoughts, things come out that surprise you, that will rejuvenate you, literally give life, give energy. So I would encourage you again to just make small changes that allow yourself to have some of this time. And some days, like me, you'll sit there and nothing will come out, but that's okay. You did it. You did the routine. There's the whole paperclip trick where we'll actually get into that later, where you put a paperclip in the jar if you did it. And so every day you're just chipping away. And maybe it's not every day. Maybe it's a couple times a week. Allow yourself the flexibility, but still keep the baseline routine so that you can get the results that you're looking for. And number 5, this is the last one, be flexible with where you get things done. And I talked a little bit about this and change your environment. But if you go on a run, do some writing or brainstorming right after your run on your phone, when your mind is the most energized and when you're in focus mode, because that really creates focus. And other times you might notice that new thoughts come into your mind. Make sure you keep a note in your phone or a notebook in your car, and you can capture thoughts on the go. So what happens with all those thoughts that you just write down aimlessly is eventually you'll go through seasons where there'll be a period of focus where, you'll know that it's time to actually compile those thoughts and put them into something, or work with someone to help you capitalize on those thoughts. So don't discard them. Don't hold back from writing them down because, oh, that's silly, or like that seems a little bit crazy to keep a notebook in my car or whatever. High performers and people that really accomplish things all do these things. Like there is just this esoteric level of functioning that they thrive on. And so nothing is weird. Nothing is out of the box. You have to figure out what works for you. And so instead of trying to put yourself into this rigid routine, actually open it up. Structure creates space. So what baseline routine or structure can you implement that will allow freedom for you, that will allow you to be filled up? And I'm going to share a free PDF download for you that you can actually just start to do this. You can just identify your key routines and take a couple minutes to think through what works for you and what changes you need to make. And this doesn't have to be a huge plan. This can be a couple little steps at a time, because small steps really lead to great and big outcomes in your life or in your business. So this PDF allows you to just make a list of things that you'd like to fit into your schedule, but don't. And ask the questions like, what do you spend too much time doing instead? How can you minimize that to focus on the things that you want to do more of? And actually a space to list out your daily routines and what addition of daily routines you think would help you. And then you can even think through this monthly, quarterly, and annually. So this is a process, right? It's a process of getting into this mindset of viewing routines as a tool, not a curse. Sometimes we can get so stuck and think, oh, they're so monotonous, but they actually have a greater purpose. And when you can remember why you're doing what you're doing, and that these routines help you accomplish the bigger visions, and that structure does create space, then you can go to new heights and you can go to new places that you never thought you could. So I just want to encourage you with that today. Thank you so much for listening in. I'm going to share the PDF in the show notes. And if you want more of this, as always, I will link to the Strategy Masterclass, our e-course that you can take anytime, anywhere. And it dives into all of your habits and routines and gives you a baseline plan that you can use to grow.